Well, it's exactly 3 minutes past 9 a.m. and of course, still driving your business right here on the #1 breakfast show around town, of course, discussing the business matters, and of course, that is all made possible. That is with Zabu. Star 292 hash is the magic code, as you will be available the chance to buy government bonds and securities. And of course, you can do that at any part of the country you will be at. You could be in the south, you could be in the west, you could be in the north, any place. No more excuses why you shouldn't own that is government bonds and securities. And of course, the market's open 8:15 a.m. as of course as we speak, the radio in operation till 3:15 p.m. That is East African time, Monday to Friday. And of course, except on the weekends and the public holidays when they don't really operate. And the most interesting aspect in here, if you're tired of transacting into this, well, you can easily you can sell up your shares and of course get to you get your money and do your other business as you keep living your life normal. Zabu, my money, my future. Do something new for yourself in the year 2023. Well, at this very time, we're heading straight into our business insight, and of course, this time around, we shall be looking at matters of the national economy. And this will be the National Economic Committee assessing the UDB, that is loan performances. And of course, we shall be finding out what is really happening in there. But of course, let's first get into this discussion. And of course, when I'm back, of course, we join with quite a panel of very interesting personnel here. I shall be, of course, digesting the matter much more. Let's review this. I'll be right back.
Affirmative action, women. We will, when we submit the sector information, we shall also give how much we have done for women, youth, etc. But in terms of affirmative action, honorable members, we have what we call special programs. In these special programs, we look at how we can support women and how we can support SMEs, the smaller borrowers, and youth. And these are distinct because we appreciated the unique or peculiar characteristics of these groups, and therefore we came up with specific products. So when you come into the bank, depending on how much you want, we shall either support you under SME or women, and there are specific value propositions there. For example, the requirements, including whatever is required under process, is a bit different and toned down for the SMEs, because we realize that they may not be able to fulfill the requirements that the bigger borrowers would be able to get. So in terms of what specifically we are doing, these programs were launched about 1 year and 3 months ago, and we are really seeing a lot of uptake, interest, because it has become easier for even smaller borrowers with the minimum of requirement of 50 million shillings to borrow from the bank. The process we take them through is very different. For example, the smaller borrowers just need to fill an application form that helps us to extract the information we need, and then we process their facilities. So we shall not require them to give a business plan, to give audited accounts, to give all those kind of requirements that the bigger borrowers would have. So that's what we are trying to do in terms of affirmative action to support the people that would ordinarily not get funding. The other key issue, honorable members, we are doing is beyond just helping them to access funding easily, we have developed a program that we call Business Accelerator for Successful Entrepreneurship. So if you come to the bank and you are not ready, like informal, instead of chasing you away, we shall put you in this program and support using the resources of the bank to help you be able to eventually get funding from the bank. So we are trying to address the demand side challenge of access to credit. And we did that after realization that a lot of people will not access credit because when you go to any bank, they say you are not registered, your governance is bad, you don't have records. So we are providing all that. And when we provide that and support people, then they should be able to acquire funding. So we are doing that as part of affirmative action. The beneficiaries from here, specifically SMEs, women, youth, because they would be different from the larger borrowers. In terms of whether we lend money to commercial banks, we do not participate in, I think some people have accused us of investing in treasury bills. We do not, and we have never. What may happen in the bank is what you may call a cash flow management process or liquidity management process. You realize that I will say that the working capital for a business of a bank is cash. So at any one time, there is cash. We collect money every day from people who are borrowing, and we disburse money every day. So what the treasury teams would do is to look at, in a week or two, how much do we need to disburse as they fall due, how much are we collecting. If there is any surplus, like say 10 or 20 billion, we may put that money on a call, and a call deposit is basically, can I put my money here at, say, interest ABC, but when I need this money tomorrow, I should be able to get it. So that is what we do, just prudent liquidity management. But we do not deliberately invest in treasury bills. What we do is just cash management, just like any business would do.
At 0.75%, and some of it at 0%, the IMF loans, and they are disbursing at 17%. Is this affordable credit? And how are you competing with the commercial banks? Because that was the objective of these lines of credit, so that government will avail affordable credit. But when I see 17%, the minister has able said that some of the beneficiaries are agricultural projects. But at 17%, even if it is 10%, one time I heard you were at 10, 12%. But you get the money at IMF, it was 0. Even this other one, it is less than 1%. Why do you disburse at 12, 17%, and you are competing with commercial banks? Are we meeting the objective of affordable credit?
We do not lend at 17%. We lend at 12%. For the special programs, we can do 10%, but the maximum we lend is 12%. We do not lend at 17%. At 12%, we're almost 50% below the market. The lines of credit, we do not get them at 0.7% or 0. For the capital that we get from government does not expect us to pay back. But what we try to do in terms of being prudent is to preserve the value of that money. For the lines of credit, these ones that I have referred to, the average borrowing of these lines is actually 5% on the dollar. That's a bit expensive, and we lend in Uganda shillings. But the capital that we get from government helps us to blend. And then when we project the numbers, we see that we can be financially sustainable, and then we can lend at 12. So there is a cost to the money. And this money is actually paid by UDB. It's not government that's paying this money. We borrow, we pay back. Government only guarantees that in the event that we fail to pay these lenders, then government can come in. But so far, we are paying, and what you are seeing as outstanding balance is what is left, but the bank is able to make those payments. It's not government that is paying. So maybe the other thing to note that impacts our interest rate is, unlike other government departments, we do not get money for operations from government. We have to recover. That's why we price. We make interest, and then we have to meet that cost to pay staff, to run the operations of the bank. The money that we get from government, we don't put any of it in operations, like paying our salaries and etc. All that money that we get, we provide to the different loan beneficiaries.
Mr.
And
Chair,
then the other
on
component,
that, Development Bank, which is supposed to promote investment in development, is also lending at the same rate, 12%, or only 1 or 2% below them. And yet all the loans you get is below 1%, and from government, 0%. Chair, don't you think here, the thinking of the people managing the development bank is almost like any other commercial bank, with no purpose for cutting their costs to ensure that they lend at a rate of 8% or 9% to our development agents in the country so that we can move faster. Because now the cost of the loan is almost like the cost of loan at any other place. So this is where I would want you to rethink and look at that. Your arguments are okay, but as a development bank, we think you're still not yet there.
Ayo has a good point, and principally we all think in the same direction. However, to achieve that, government must put in more capital so that UDB has a lot of capital to lend out and also be able to reap from the economies of scale. So in future, when I come here to ask for more money to put in UDB, I will need a lot of your support so that we.
So what are you doing with the little you have to convince me to give you more?
Okay, she can answer on what she's doing with the little she has.
Thank you. I want to be on record that I do not know a commercial bank that is lending at 12% except for the ACF facility where they participate in, that is in Bank of Uganda. According to the Bank of Uganda Monetary Policy Report for February 2023, just a month ago, the prime lending rate for the commercial banks is 19%. Now that is 19 that they give to their best client. But you know that banks will lend at prime plus a margin, say 3-5%. Yeah, so it's 19, 18.77 in the last report. It is 19. So that is not the same as 12% that UDBL lends at to close in 2025. So by 2025, we should have paid it off all. So that is the third last column in terms of outstanding. Then you also asked about non-performing loans. Yes, any bank will have a portion of their loans which are not performing. What is important is to set your risk appetite. You will recognize that at any one time, loans will default. International financial reporting standards provide for the same. In fact, the moment we book a loan, we are supposed to be mindful and recognize the fact that it's highly likely or it's likely that a portion of it may not be recovered. So we do all that in financial reporting. Our risk appetite for NPLs is, as per our benchmarks with the Association of National DFIs on the continent, is 15, but currently we are at 12. So at 12% non-performing loans, we are okay, we are comfortable with that because we take on high risk. We lend to projects that the commercial banks do not lend. I lend startups, I lend to SMEs, the banks do not do that. So it's a bit more risk that we take, but that is our business, that's our mandate, to support different businesses. But also when we say NPL, it doesn't mean that we are going to lose this money. Our loans are well secured. We do NPL for purposes of reporting, being prudent, that if a loan has not paid for 3 months, then we start saying, okay, there are issues, but it does not mean that all is lost. Someone may not pay in 3 months because of maybe there are issues with the supplier, maybe project implementation, there were delays, and we get this kind of challenges, you know, sometimes something has happened to the supply of the machinery, but we follow and monitor closely, and eventually these loans turn around. So when we say 12%, we are being prudent, but we are still looking at, assuming this is the situation, are we okay financially? So that's what I can say on non-performing loans. But yes, we have some of them that may fail to pay for reasons not intended, but the loans are well secured, that even when they are NPLs, we try to work as much as possible with a promoter to try and get the loan back on track. If all fails, which is usually not our wish, we shall still be able to recover this money. And
well, that is the National Economic Committee assessing the UDB, that is loan performance. But, you know, a very interesting aspect of this story is that, you know, one of the ways we can assess the performance of any loan scheme is getting to take a look at the list of the beneficiaries. Who are benefiting from this very particular fund? So recently, it so happens that the Uganda Development Bank is not releasing the list of beneficiaries. So now, the main point of discussion here is, are their beneficiaries really, if such information is not really being disclosed out? What's the secret behind keeping it a little bit personal? Because that's where we know. That's how best we can assess the performance of such loans. And of course with me, I'm joined with Hanifa. She's a reporter at Parliament, already giving us the details in Parliament. And of course with Joram Paulson, who's still on the panel, taking this discussion to quite a great heights. A very good morning once again, Joram, and good morning, Hanifa.
Good morning, Andrew.
Yeah. Okay, now what's happening in here? Or I mean, what's going on around here? The list is not being released out there, so how do we know how these loans are performing?
Yeah, it is quite funny, and it is kind of difficult for the legislators who sit on the national economy, because their job is to assess the performance of these loans, and they're entitled to know who has received the loans. Are the loans going to the right people? Are the loans going to the right businesses and projects? And how do they determine their performances? For UTV to come out and just say this loan was dispersed to 145 projects, without necessarily naming the projects and the persons that have taken the loans, it becomes quite suspicious, just like some legislators were saying. Now, if you want to inform the country that we received such a loan, it went to so and so, and it created jobs. Bring back that information with evidence. Let the country know that, yeah, actually these loans are there and Ugandans can go and borrow, especially SMEs, because these were the mostly affected during the COVID period. But if you don't come out to say and then say it is client confidentiality, that is taxpayers' money, that is the country's money. So we are all entitled to know all that information.
The beneficiaries.
Yeah.
Joram, what's your take regarding this matter, about the list of beneficiaries? You know, why? I mean, do you really think it's proper? You know, because we need to understand the performance. Oh, it is for matters of national security. I don't know. You know, they always give excuses for everything.
Well, my first question actually was, I was asking Hanifa whether she does believe the SMEs are benefiting from this particular
money that is released. Yeah.
Because of course, according to the report from the managing director UDB, Patricia Ojangole, they do. But of course, some of the SMEs apparently come out and say the interest rates are high. Especially when you're returning now, and you're going for the loan. But the reason as to why most of them no longer go in is because these interest rates look like they are not for the small businesses. They look so much for the, should I say, medium-sized and the other bigger, or the macro enterprises, because these are the ones that can easily get back this money and even clear off with the interest. So I think it may be benefiting a sector of the SMEs, not the entire fraternity.
Exactly.
So if we say SMEs, maybe you get to realize that for the small businesses, now if a small business person wants to go in for a 2 million loan, imagine, sometimes you get to realize that these loans are not even favorable for some people. This is one of the reasons as to why most people don't even want to save in banks. Someone says, monthly I'm getting 500,000. Now if I go and save that 500,000 in a bank, remember they're going to charge me every time I withdraw, every time I check for balance. So you get to realize that, you're not ready for this and you cannot push forward to continue in this kind of life. So I think this is one of the reasons as to why we need to look deeper in understanding these interest rates. This is a very big
17%.
It's crazy.
17% is
for someone of 5 million, for example. Again, it is too much for a small business. Even some people who actually do medium-sized businesses, by the way, that we look at and say this is a medium-sized entity. You realize they are only living off losses now.
Exactly.
So someone getting a loan, again, 17% for an interest.
It is really
it does look high.
unrealistic. It is unrealistic. Actually, the committee put to task these guys, the UDP officials. And 17%, really?
It's
How
quite
can you
crazy.
put it? And we also want to know how many for gender equality issue. How many women actually borrowed this money? Because women have their small SMEs businesses. How many women? And you don't even have the list. And you say, yeah, we do have, but then there's no evidence. There's no document to it. 17% is really unrealistic for such developmental loans.
I agree.
And these are loans meant to develop our local people, our people who don't have much actually. There's a name that came up during the debate there. And someone said, one of the legislators said, there's a name that came up, is it Akamwesi something? We want to know how this Akamwesi name acquired these loans. These are people, big enterprise, people who own big enterprises. And they were not doing so badly during the COVID period.
Yeah.
And then those such names rise up, and we need to know how and determinants. How
What are the determinants? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How did they come up to receive these loans?
All right. Thank you so much for that. Well, it's exactly 24 minutes past 9. And of course, still driving business, discussing matters of what is really happening around the country, Uganda. Of course, the decisions made by the policy implementers, how favorable are they to the common person, or what we refer to as Omutuawansi. Well, Hanifa, there has been a talk last week regarding the supplementary budget that is for the War Hospital.
Yeah.
And I know that is something that you're going to work on in line with that. What should we expect?
Yeah. Last week, the Ministry of Health presented to the Committee of Health their supplementary budget of 31.9 billion shillings, which the committee rejected actually.
And they were right.
They were right to reject it, because if you look at the things that they considered,
exactly.
Really, we can do away. We can wait. These the things that can wait. They're the ones that they presented. Seriously, it was not making sense for the committee. Something like Lubowa Hospital. You consider Lubowa and then you leave Mulago. Mulago, the biggest referral hospital that we have in Uganda. Because even when you are in, when they take you to those the up-country referral hospitals, and if there's a case that has failed, they still refer you to Mulago. But where are you going to go? Where are you going to find Mulago now? It is in that state. It is in a sorry state. It is coming to 10 years now. The hospital has failed to be completed. Well, and then you bring to the committee that you want 2.7 billion. 2.7 billion for
to construct a new hospital.
No, like to inspect.
2.7 billion
to inspect the construction of Lubowa, because we have to inspect, of course. And they're like, what? Okay. What is not happening in this country? Mulago is there. The equipment is rotting, and these are expensive equipment. And then Ministry of Finance, for them, they just decide, let us put 2.7 for inspecting of Lubowa. Let us put this money, 600 billion for the oxygen plants. Of course, there was a time when we needed oxygen, yes, during the COVID period. But now you can say, now that we no longer have COVID, exactly, we can push this and then construct this hospital as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But it did not happen. So today they are having the officials to explain why, and also the contractor, that is Rocco, what is delaying this hospital? What is there needed to be? Is it money and we just approve the money?
Okay.
We need the hospital to be in place.
Okay.
That is generally what is happening today in the Committee of Health.
Okay, thank you for that. Joram, what's your say regarding this, budget for a hospital, yet the hospital, the traditional hospital we've been having, that is Mulago, is still in a very sorry state.
Furthermore, there was the budget to at least fund the specialized hospital is a different one, because it is ideally there is a catchword, specialized. The only worry about the concern is not necessarily because Mulago is not worked upon or anything.
Yeah.
But the fact that even up to now, the work in progress has literally nothing to show. There are less developments of the Lubowa Specialized Hospital whatsoever, and the Ministry of Health continues to seek for more money. And that is the bigger worry that we still look at, because at the end of the day, even though we woke up and someone signed or asked for money to maybe say add a unit at Mulago Hospital or expand or do some maintenance work, and again they give you the money and you fail to use it, and the next year you ask for more money, you get to realize that the issue is not even about let's say the other hospital failing, but the issue is why haven't you used the money we gave you that you said would be enough. So this is a time when we have to realize that sometimes we've got a lot of questions to ask, because members of parliament went and did a physical tour of the Lubowa, and their report was there was no progress at all. That is why they are still laying back
on that very point. Were they allowed even to access the place? The place is guarded. Like the members or the committee who are supposed to assess, of course this is a hospital that was approved by parliament itself, but the parliament itself that approved this thing cannot access the place. They were chased away.
But I think for the people who actually use Entebbe Road, you can easily observe a few of the developments happening there, but by the look of things, when you're around Zana roundabout, you will see that there are few infrastructure, but of course you would expect maybe a huge kind of setting, because according to the artistic impression at the roadside in Lubowa, you may think it is exactly what you will be seeing there. But of course, there is still more work to be done.
It's coming to 5 years now.
5 years now.
5 years, and money keeps going there.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Probably me, I'll just say, when Jesus said, if you're not faithful with the little, how much more when you're given more? Mulago, which has always been our traditional spirit, even before the war was thought about, years way back. I mean, if we fail to really reinstate it to that level that is really standard and international, that we can really cater, whereby you don't have to go outside Uganda to get, to get treatment in case of a very serious case. We could finish it just right here in our country. Of course, more of that story will be coming up in our Business Today bulletin tonight at 9 p.m. More of that details shall be in there, and of course, it's quite going to be very dramatic. I anticipate that Parliament always has that aspect, and it's going to be very, something you really need to check out. Well, at this very time, we're going to get into a short break, and of course, we shall be returning with our SMB on ground discussions, and of course, we are still with Hanifa. Definitely, the president of Uganda is tomorrow. He's going to address the parliament, and the anticipations from the different members of parliament. What is he going to say about? Well, that and more coming up after the break.